Can you name 2 Green Lanterns?
Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan.
Okay. Oh, those are the 2 that were there?
Those are the
You did
2.
it.
Those are the 2.
Name a third.
Ryan Reynolds.
All right, I have nothing to add, Kyle.
Well, I'm going to talk about eco-terrorism.
Got too excited about jorts.
I am leaving now with my Roomba or your blood on my hands.
I'm back on my bullshit.
What is meme if not air horn persevering?
No, this is not a family show.
And I quote, many American titties.
Why'd you have to bring Dane Cook to this, Andrew? No one wanted that.
Oh, you guys are not ready for what I've got today.
And I've apparently hit the very end of my attention span.
Give me like 30 seconds. I'm looking for rhymes.
Hello and welcome to Debate This, the show where no one is right, but someone is definitely wrong. In this show, we take time out of our busy adult lives to talk about comic books, video games, and how Discovery Inc. merging with Warner Brothers somehow means HBO is going to get worse.
And that the word genre-dumb was introduced to the internet. The opposite of fandom being genre-dumb.
Excuse me, I will not stand for the slander against the 90 Day Fiancé universe.
That's the thing.
Well,
like, Discovery Plus is one of my favorite apps. I'm mad about the other side. It's very
you're not
strange.
supposed to, Matt. You're not supposed to watch Discovery. You're a boy.
Yeah, you're
I
bold.
know.
Boys are
That's
supposed
the
to
bench
watch
channel.
HBO.
Yeah, like what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Monopoly's bad always, but this Monopoly extra bad.
It's Monopoly plus old white men. It's the
That's
the worst
awesome
of two
because
things.
gender isn't supposed to do this specific thing. It comes up in the story of our flavor in the production history of our flavor text today in an equally dumb way.
What a good segue.
What a good segue. So, as I've hinted, this week's episode is a flavor text and is brought to you by a longtime patron of the show, Dr. Garlicbutter. I have long expressed my love for the DC animated canon, starting with the DC animated universe, the original Teen Titans cartoon, or the rich library of DC animated feature-length movies. However, there's one series in there that flies under the radar when this topic comes up. That is the Cartoon Network series Young Justice. As I have said, this episode was brought to us by Dr. Garlicbutter, who paid his way into getting to commission a flavor text by being a top level patron of Debate This for 3 more months. If you would like to commission your own flavor text, please go to our Patreon at patreon.com/debatethiscast and join the Master Debater level at $25 a month. And after your 3rd month, you will be invited to commission your own flavor text as well. That's the Patreon pitch, and I think
Smooth like garlic butter.
Smooth like garlic butter. All right. As usual, I can't do this deep dive alone, though, so today I am joined by Matt, feeling the Aster Cole, Todd, extremely chalant Thomas, and Andrew, stay whelmed Henderson.
I get the
I've
last one.
felt an aster or two in my day.
Todd,
It takes me a couple drinks to become extremely chalant when I get there.
Yeah. So before we dive in, friends, what do you know of the animated series Young Justice? And if failing to answer that question satisfactorily, what do you know of like the deep DC Comics lore?
Can I go first?
Pass.
All right, I'm going to go first. So I know a little bit about this series. I had said right before we started recording, I did watch a couple episodes in preparation for this flavor text. I loosely knew of some of the main characters, just being somewhat aware of their Justice League counterparts.
Sure.
I'm also kind of a big fan of the whole junior version of major superheroes. I didn't know that I liked this genre until I watched a Marvel animated series about the Young Avengers, and I was like, this is fun. And then I watched some of this today. I'm like, oh, that's right, this is a thing about me. So this has awakened something inside of me. This content is made for me. As long as it doesn't go the way of when the Teen Titans did their rebranding of their different animation style, then I am on board.
Great. Andrew has opted out of answering the question.
Much like this, the alcohol content in this can of Athletic Brewing's hazy IPA, the answer is none.
Great. I know that the Justice League exists, and by the way that people age, I assumed the Justice League was young at one point. I'm not going to lie to you. Today, when we sat down to record this, I learned that Young Justice was animated. I did not know that there was a Young Justice series. However, I did assume that the Justice League were not always middle-aged. Also, my favorite version of a kid's version of an adult show is a pup named Scooby-Doo.
Matt, you moved like further and further away further and further off base the more you talked through your understanding of this, which is just amazing.
It's certainly on brand.
Yeah. I'll also add that out of our nicknames, the only one I know is the Stay Whelmed, and that is a bit from early on. Robin is like, why doesn't anyone just stay whelmed? You can be overwhelmed. You can be underwhelmed. I just want to stay whelmed.
I just want to be whelmed. Okay, so the quick summary, and we'll get into a longer summary later. Young Justice is not aged down members of the Justice League, but it is
not the Muppet Babies of Justice League.
It is not the Muppet Babies or a pup named Scooby-Doo of the Justice League. It is a team of essentially like sidekicks to the Justice
plucky
League.
Plucky
teens. So
They are plucky teens.
It's Robin, Kid Flash, Aqualad.
Sounds like younger versions of Justice League to me.
Well, it is not, because the Justice League, like Batman, Aquaman, Superman, all exist as characters in this universe as well.
Oh, gotcha. No, it's young Captain America. It's different.
Yeah,
different.
So it's the team of sidekicks.
Isn't that? No, I'm being super serious. Like, that's what the Teen Titans are, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is just like another faction of young DC superheroes.
A different continuity from the Teen Titans show that you all know and love. Cool. But similar premise.
Awesome.
So I'll kind of do a production background. I'll run you through some of the main characters of the show, and then we'll break. And when we come back from the break, I'll go through a more in-depth synopsis of season 1 and a quick rundown of the following 3 seasons after that. Sound good?
Cool.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. So, Young Justice released its 1-hour premiere in November of 2010 on Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network at the time, kind of following the success of Avatar: The Last Airbender on Nickelodeon, was seeking to capture more of a teen audience with their animated programming to separate themselves from Nickelodeon and Disney, their kind of two closest competitors in that space. In a push that kicked off with shows like Adventure Time, Chowder, and later Steven Universe, all kind of spun out of this desire of Cartoon Network to capture the teen market, so to speak.
Stoners.
And stoners. Shows that, while enjoyable for younger kids, were more aimed at older kids and teenagers by having more complex plot lines, longer running plot lines, more mature or advanced jokes, and aged up cast. Young Justice was an attempt to fill the hole left by another popular Cartoon Network DC animated show, Teen Titans, while keeping its identity separate from the popular serial, and again aiming a little higher in its storytelling and audience than Teen Titans did.
That's kind of wild, because I feel like Teen Titans aimed pretty high age-wise storyline.
It did toward the end, and Young Justice learned a lot of good lessons from those like later seasons of Teen Titans, but Teen Titans also still had the occasional episode where like a silly British man came in and made everything a goofy TV show. Like
Beast Boy keeps turning into animals every time he sneezes. Like,
for sure. Okay.
No one says booyah once an episode in this series. Differences like that.
I would say that's a negative, not a positive.
They lived in a big T.
They lived in a giant T. There's no giant T-shaped buildings in this.
Bit more subtle
show
in this one.
Yes. Where did I stop here? All right. While critically very well received, Young Justice struggled for 3 years to find an audience as its first season came out. Season 1 aired between November of 2010 and like the end of 2012. These episodes aired. The incredibly serialized nature of the story made it hard for casual fans to follow this like very long release schedule, because it was 26 episodes over the 2 years. This was compounded by the fact that Young Justice was not given the love that, say, Avatar: The Last Airbender was over on Nickelodeon, which was given regular like blocks of marathon programming to like keep viewers interested in Avatar while that production like stretched out.
It's not a show you can watch like one episode every other week.
It's not a SpongeBob or a Fairly Odd Parents where like you can pop in, you get the idea, and if you like miss 4 episodes or forget what happened in them, you're not going to be lost when you jump back into the new ones. So Young Justice was left to its own devices in between its like long episode delays. They had the occasional like marathon here and there, but nothing like Nickelodeon where like, if I don't know if you guys watched TV in the summer when Avatar was on.
Sure did, Kyle. Oh,
but
I sure did.
Once a week, there would be just 5 hours of Avatar on Nickelodeon. Cartoon Network didn't do that nearly as much. However, the show had a small but mighty dedicated fan base and was reviewed very favorably by critics, especially at the time. I think at the time of the recording, each episode in season 1 has an 8.5 or higher rating on IMDb.
Wow.
Most of them hovering around a 9. It's a good show, guys. So with the dedicated fan base and the critical acclaim, Cartoon Network greenlit a second season, Young Justice Invasion, and changed the production schedule so that the entire second season would air in the standard like TV time frame. This one came out like April of 12 to May of 13, I think. And it was shortened to 20 episodes so that they could keep on that schedule. Season 2, while still well reviewed, couldn't find the audience it was looking for, and it was announced that it would be canceled in 2013, along with Green Lantern, the animated series, and Tower Prep, which I don't know much about Tower Prep, but I think it was created by Kevin Smith or associated with Kevin Smith in some way.
Sure.
It's another like superhero-esque show.
So 2013, this is around the time that you Kyle have cited before, like the ever famous like superhero glut of the mid 10s.
Yes.
Well,
go ahead.
It's a bummer to hear that, but it makes sense. I don't know if any of you 3 watched Green Lantern the animated series. It's able to be streamed on a platform. I don't know which one.
I think it's HBO Max because it's
HBO
WB
Max now. I streamed it prior to that being a thing, but it was good. It was a good series that like followed the redemption of a Red Lantern.
Yeah,
and it just suddenly like it was setting up things to move, and then just done.
So all 3 of these shows were pretty critically well acclaimed. Cartoon Network stated the reason for their canceling was that because these shows tried to like garner a female audience who Cartoon Network wasn't trying to chase because they, quote, don't buy toys.
Genres, Kyle.
So that was their excuse at the time in 2013. It came out later through interviews that what actually led to these shows being canceled was like the toys did not sell well. Each show had a merchandising deal with Mattel. Those toys did not sell well and were a significant part of like where their budget came from was the success of the toy sales. So like
thanks women.
So when Mattel canceled their toys, When Mattel canceled the toy lines, the shows got canceled as well. Sad day.
What a wild thought. I mean, I guess it's not unbelievable, but what a wild thought that like the success of your show lives and dies off of the toys that you sell.
Not even the toys you sell, the toys you allow another company to license from you and sell. Like, they didn't even make their own toys to try and like chase the audience they were after. It is pretty common. Yeah, I mean, it's all very common. At least.
Maybe for younger, maybe that's the problem. It's like it's a bunch of like old boardroom execs comparing cartoon to children, but if you're looking at a cartoon that is not aimed for a child, and you're looking for a cartoon that you're aiming a cartoon for a teenager audience or an older audience, they don't buy toys, dog.
No, they should have been marketing these into vape pens and pogs.
And I will say, like,
teens would have bought them.
I will say, like, other shows at this time in this, like, trying to capture the teen audience did successfully merchandise. Like, there's Adventure Time merch everywhere.
Right.
There was Steven Universe merch everywhere. Rick and Morty is now more merchandise than show.
But not toys.
But not toys.
And
quarter
Hot
of a wall
Topic.
at Hot. Yep, a quarter of a wall at Hot Topic is gotta be all those things Kyle just said.
So that was the ultimate downfall, was like they went for toys when they should have gone for like merch, I guess. Yeah. Sure. Whatever. It's dumb. However, in 2016, Young Justice became available to stream on Netflix, and the show saw a boost in viewership, found new fans who were all distressed to learn that the show had been canceled already. After season 2 did a pretty good job setting up a third season.
Classic.
And so a campaign for Netflix to pick up the new episodes of the series began. And this was around the time Netflix was doing the like, hey, you love this old show? Arrested Development, Gilmore Girls. Yeah, it was around the same time as all that. So fans were like, hey, Netflix is just greenlighting shows. Maybe they'll greenlight ours. However, in 2017, it was announced that Season 3 was, in fact, happening as exclusive content for DC Universe, a DC Comics branded streaming service, which was later merged with HBO Max.
Boy, I remember the hot minute when that right.
Yeah.
No, I think we talked. I don't know if we talked about it, but someone I know in a circle, maybe we talked about it, about like, I had said, where do you stream these DC things? And one of you three like, oh yeah, the DC Universe app.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not shit.
I'm gonna wager that was Kyle.
It was me. It was touted. It was held up for a while as being the only place you could stream the Batman animated series, the like 1992 very good Batman animated series. Yeah. It had the its other flagship shows of it. I think this is where Doom Patrol also started. Doom Patrol also began as exclusive content for DC Universe.
Yeah.
And the super edgy rated mature for mature kids Titans show. A live action Titans show was also exclusive DC Universe content.
I think that the Harley Quinn show also started on DC Universe. Yeah.
Yes.
Man, I
that's constantly
nice forget that Titans happened.
Yeah. That's what DC wants you to do. So season 3 aired on DC Universe. Season 4 was released more recently on HBO Max, and season 5 is currently in development. So this show has not been canceled a second time, has not ended a second time, and is still going. Releasing in these kind of now, I believe they do the whole season at once type release for these.
Cool. It's like a 6-year lapse between 2 and 3. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So this show has now found its audience. It's found a production schedule that works for it and is running. So this I will not be diving through all 4 current seasons of the show because it's still coming out. So go watch it. And tell DC that keep making new episodes of this. So the strength of the show, it hinges on the the superhero action and adventure is part of it, but the strength of the show comes from the characters and the interactions. This is a show made for teens, so it's got a little bit of teen soap built into the story structure as well, but not in a way that makes you go, oh boy, this is really for teens. It's actually like a pretty good like comic character interactions. It's very good. I like the characters a lot in this. So we'll go through the team, as they call themselves. It is not Team Young Justice. It's not the Teen Titans. They just are referred to as the team throughout the whole run of the show. And we'll go through some of the villains, which includes a very colorful cast of like Paste Pot Pete level DC villains, reimagined to make them less Paste Pot Petey. So the team, at its core, consists of Dick Grayson, Robin. It's Robin, the boy wonder, Batman's sidekick.
It's a Robin.
It's a Robin.
Kyle,
here's
quick.
the first question of the night.
Okay,
Yes.
Go ahead, Andrew.
So, walk me through. Give me a tight 30 on DC continuity. How Robin is leader of the Teen Titans and also in Young Justice. How does that line up in the continuity, or is it like the timelines in Back to the Future too? There's one timeline where he's running Young Justice and another timeline where
This is more of a like Earth 616 versus Earth 833 scenario.
Okay.
So Young Justice exists in and I don't know the number of it, but their own version of like an alternate Earth. Mm-hmm. This is a universe, an alternate universe that has been shown in the comics, but was deliberately chosen here because like it wasn't used much. It gave them a lot of room to play and let them, and basically we're like, yeah, we want to do like our own continuity that's going to mirror the real continuity a lot of the time, but like not have to worry about stupid things like timeline, like where things fall on a timeline or who's done what in the past. Like it lets them, so it follows a pretty standard DC continuity, but all kind of squished together to make sense so that all these characters exist all at the same time, where like in the comics they existed over a 30-year span. So we've got Robin, Dick Grayson. I'm gonna put the whole team into like DC, or not DC, D&D party comp roles as well. Mm-hmm. Robin's the rogue. He's incredibly intelligent. He relies on his like acrobats and ability to like dodge and swerve to fight.
Tank.
Skill tank. He's the skill tank. He's very tech savvy. Think like the early 2010s idea of a hacker.
I'm in.
He says I'm in a lot.
He says I'm in so
he's constantly
often.
got an iPad out, like he's touching the tech thing.
He's got a wrist mounted like Tony Stark hologram iPad. He's got gadgets galore. He's Robin. He's very quick-witted. He does the Spider-Man thing of frustrating the enemy with his smart mouth while they battle. He is one of the young. I think he's the youngest member initially on the team.
I want everyone to know who's listening that every time Kyle says the team, he gives us dramatic air quotes.
I'm gonna keep doing it. And was considered for like the leadership role of the team before it was like, hey, you're a kid, you're 13, you can't lead these 18-year-olds on your team. That's weird.
There's a noticeable age gap between some of the members of the team, so that's interesting.
Robin, all of your middle names in the opening are all Robinisms. That's part of it. One of his dumb things he likes to do is this word play where he'll take words that have like a negative prefix, like disaster, and it's like, we prevented the disaster, so now it's just an aster. Like that's where that comes from.
That's right.
Cool. Yeah. It's not nonchalant. We're all just very chalant or I think he says extra chalant at one point in the series as well.
Sure, he does.
Yeah, so that's a running gag that Robin does throughout the entire show. So hope you like that, or if not, I hope you can ignore it. But he's Robin. He's one of the main characters, and he's here and he's fun. Next we have Calderam, or Aqualad is his superhero moniker. He's the de facto leader of the team. He's one of the heavies of the group. I put him as the paladin of the party in the team comp.
He's kind of a brick shithouse especially compared to the rest of them.
Yeah. He's a native Atlantean. He trained as a mage at the Atlantis Royal Academy before being selected by Aquaman to like be his sidekick. He's super strong and durable and resistant to toxins and thrives underwater, which are all like normal Atlantean things. But he also has this like ability to create a bioelectricity that allows him to control water as part of his training at the Atlantis Royal Academy. So he also wields 2 like aqua blades that allow him to channel that bioelectricity and ability to control water and shape it into like weapons and tools. So he's somewhere between like the Aquaman and the Green Lantern of the party.
Cool.
He is frequently doubting himself as leader. He's very torn between his decision to like follow Aquaman or to stay at the academy and like with his friends and live a normal quote unquote Atlantean life. But he takes his role very seriously, and although he does like very frequently question his ability to lead, he takes it very seriously and ends up being a very upfront and like honest leader of his team. He's a very cool character. He's also voiced by the same voice actor who played Cyborg in Teen Titans, if Teen Titans is your reference. Robin is voiced by former pop singer Jesse McCartney as well.
Really?
Yes.
I would never have guessed that one.
Yes.
Great. That's very good.
Yeah. I'll touch on voice castings from time to time because there's another like decent celebrity grab that you wouldn't think early on, and then they up their voice acting chops as throughout the run as well. So from there we'll go on to Wally West, or Kid Flash. He's the fastest kid alive. Wally West was able to successfully recreate the conditions that led to Barry Allen becoming the Flash. And followed in the speedster's footsteps. Yes.
Question.
Matt.
We talked not so recent or not so long ago about Flashpoint and how what created the Flash was the Reverse Flash going back in time and killing his mom. So did Wally West go back in time to kill his mom?
That's okay.
Is that how
Just
he
to push my
recreated?
That's how everybody gets Flash powers.
That's how you get the Speed Force.
Listeners out there, I charge you, if you can figure out how to kill Barry Allen's mom, you too will become the Flash.
That is the catalyst to what then brought Barry to a point where he messed with questionable science and lightning struck a bunch of test tubes of chemicals and gave him his powers.
Yeah. So what he recreated was the questionable science and lightning striking the test tubes of chemicals. Wally West did a more controlled version of that, where he these were the chemicals used, and splashed on the Flash and made a serum that he drank, and then grabbed a live electric wire and electrocuted himself that way. So he is not as fast as the Flash. He is the team speedster, able to hit supersonic speeds when we first meet him. He speeds up a little bit after that. He has a history. He's friends with Robin and Speedy, who we will get to. And he's, a valuable team asset when he is not getting distracted, as he is prone to do. He would be the monk in this party comp. Finding a D&D role for a speedster was a little tricky, but he's the monk. He moves around, he hits things. He's
DPS.
He's DPS. He's impulsive. He is quick to distrust new members. He likes his core group of friends, and anyone that tries to come into that, he kind of doesn't like off the bat. He's also a bit of a skirt chaser and a flirt. And whenever a new female character joins the team, he is ready to flirt with them.
I hate that description, but from the one episode I saw where there was one other character on the screen wearing a skirt, he instantly, all of his dialogue is like an innuendo.
Yep.
And like painful as such. But that is a point in his personality.
Yeah. But he's also quick on his feet, earnest, loyal. He is a good friend to his friends once he makes them. He's just not quick to make new friends.
It took me a minute. It took me a full minute, but you just described the Kid Flash as quick on his feet, Kyle.
There you go, Matt. There's your unintentional pun of the episode. So from there, we'll go on to Megan Morse, or Megan Morse, or Miss Martian. She is introduced as the Martian Manhunter's niece. Megan is a Martian. Martians are naturally telepathic and telekinetic and able to alter the shape and makeup of their bodies, allowing Megan to also turn invisible or imitate the appearance of someone else. This should be the team sorcerer is a good match for that. Alone on Mars, she picked up the occasional transmission from Earth and based her alter ego and catchphrase on a fictional to the universe 90s sitcom called Hello Megan. She's dodgy about her past when the topic comes up, but she brings with her a semi-sentient bioship that serves as the team's kind of transport and mobile base of operations. And if you think whatever the 2010s equivalent of like a Valley Girl or a sorority girl from that time, you've got the idea of her personality. She's very bubbly, very friendly. But as soon as someone asks a question or two about like how she grew up, where she comes from, she gets very dodgy and
she's
flighty.
Starfire.
She's
Yeah,
she's the Starfire. Yeah.
So when I went to search for Young Justice Miss Martian, one of the first suggestions was Miss Martian True Form. And I've seen images and they've led me to have questions. Kyle, are you going to talk about that at all? Or
we are going to talk about that.
All right, cool. I'll shut up and hold my thoughts for later.
Put a pin in that. We'll get to that in the season 1 synopsis.
Great.
All right. From there, we've got Connor Kent, or Superboy. Connor is a clone of Superman, who is busted out of Star Labs in the series premiere. He is the result of Project Cadmus, a cloning program started by Star Labs. That the whole point of Project Cadmus is to create a contingency plan should Superman or the Justice League ever need to be subdued. Cadmus is originally run by Amanda Waller from Suicide Squad notoriety. She gets ousted halfway through the season. It's not important, but those are some touchstones to bring you kind of up to speed with all that.
I never realized Amanda Waller was such a prominent figure in DC.
Yeah,
like, she shows up
really
a lot.
is. She really is.
She's kind of Nick Fury-ish.
Yeah,
Nick Fury-ish. If Nick Fury didn't trust a single one of the Avengers at any given moment, like
I guess
that's
Thunderbolt Ross-ish.
Yeah, that's better. She's the Thunderbolt Ross. Unable to fully recreate Superman's Kryptonian DNA, Connor is half human, half Kryptonian, and lacks Superman's full capabilities, namely the flight and heat vision. So he carries a chip on his shoulder because of that. He has a bit of a superiority complex because of that, and it is not helped by the fact that Superman is incredibly uncomfortable around Connor for most of the first season. Yeah. Superman is not comfortable with the fact that he's got like this half clone out there fighting crime, wearing the Superman S and all of that. Connor is short-tempered, constantly suspicious, and flighty. He's the barbarian in the D&D party comp.
Cool.
Yeah. From there, we'll go to Roy Harper, or Speedy, or Red Arrow, depending on what time frame you are referring to him as. Roy is not an official member of the team after rejecting membership. Roy cut out on his own because in the series premiere, they all thought they were going to get to join the Justice League, and that was a big fake out. They just got to like tour HQ and be like, look, our sidekicks, here they are. And that really pissed him off. So he's like, screw all this. I'm not Speedy anymore. I don't work with Green Arrow anymore. I am doing my own thing. But he occasionally comes to the team for help and like helps them out when their interests align. So he pops in and out of the series as the plot dictates. Originally a protege of Green Arrow, Roy boasts an arsenal of trick arrows and proficiency with a bow and hand-to-hand combat. He is fiercely independent, always skeptical of everybody. Roy frequently finds out and reveals secrets from like all sides, villains, heroes, everything. In the first episode, the like driving plot early on is that they're gonna go, the sidekicks are gonna get to see Justice League HQ, and as soon as they are let inside, Roy is like, this isn't the real Justice League HQ, this is a fake one, you guys won't show us the real one, what's going on? So that's like his whole thing, is he's just always calling people out.
Which, like, to be more specific too, they literally have this whole big pop-in circumstance of like, welcome to the Justice League. Hey, you're gonna sit in the waiting room while we have to go talk about things you can't know about. Yeah. And like, there's this whole moment where they're like, but it's an honor. You should be honored to be in the waiting room. And they point up to the skylight and there's paparazzi taking pictures in the waiting room. And they're no, this is not special. Like, this is not special at all.
We're just on the other side of the glass
And he calls him out too, and he's like, you're going to go through that door, and you're going to teleport up to your real base, which is up in outer space. And, like, Batman looks at Green Arrow, and Green Arrow's like, I thought I could tell him that. I guess that was wrong.
Yeah, so Roy, Red Arrow, he is a badass, but he's always good and helpful when he shows up, but he's not always willing to show up or work with others. He doesn't always play nice with others. He's a bastard, but a fun one to watch.
I think canonically, Speedy is like a rival to Robin, not like a nefarious rival, but I think he is like consistently a foil.
He's like if you know the relationship between like Spider-Man and Human Torch, it's rivalry in that sense, where like they compete at superheroing things, but they don't ever they don't fight each other. Yeah. They just want to one up each other at all times. Yeah. So replacing Red Arrow on the team then is Artemis, who later becomes Tigress. But her name is Artemis Croc, is her like actual identity. She's a last minute addition to the team after Roy takes off. She doesn't show up until like 4 or 6 episodes in or something like that. She is introduced as another protege of Green Arrow, but everyone kind of figures out right away that that's a lie. Like, he's covering for her in some other aspect, but they don't push it too much. Similar to Roy and Green Arrow, Artemis is skilled with a bow and uses trick arrows, although she quickly shows she's comfortable with a range of weapons and like hand-to-hand styles of combat. She also quickly gives off like troubled kid vibes, is also very dodgy about her past and likes to like push the buttons of other team members too, and likes to like kind of find out what makes them crack and like where their emotional weak points are. She very desperately wants to shake her mysterious past, but struggles with the black and white morality of some of the Justice League and other teammates as well. The Ranger of the party comp, because she uses a bow. It's the
I was
easy one.
for a while. I was like, wasn't that Kristen Wiig in Wonder Woman? And then I realized that was Cheetah. Or...
Cheetah,
Yeah,
is
this is
different than Tigress.
I do love the fact that like Green Arrow shows up to take your son to work day. And he's like, sorry, my son's kind of a bastard. Hang on.
Yeah.
6 episodes later, he's like, what about this other child that I've been training in superheroism? Is this good?
Is this good? Does this work for your team?
I also like that like Green Arrow's protege is just Red Arrow. Like,
yes,
color, son.
Yeah.
Pick a color that isn't green.
Well, I mean, the Kid Flash.
It's like a bad name. It's
half of these naming conventions are not good.
No, Superboy sucks. Yeah.
Aqualad.
Yeah. It's so like I will switch back and forth between referring to them as their superheroing name and their like actual name, as it becomes fit. And our last member of the team is Zatanna Zatara, or just Zatanna. She is a late season add to the team. She comes in like the back half of season 1. She is the daughter of League member Giovanni Zatara, or just Zatara, and is a skilled spellcaster like her father. They don't go into much about like where their powers come from or why they can do magic when other people can't, but they cast spells mostly by just saying the thing they want to do backwards. That's like Zatanna and Zatara's whole thing, is they just like will say tie the rope backwards and it like whips the rope around the bad guy and ties him up, or like
neat.
Seems like we should have been trying that a long time ago.
How does it work with silent letters? Like tie the rope, is it Epor or just pour?
I think it's Epor. I think they like read it like you would read it backwards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's very important to
I know.
Until this very moment, I only knew of Zatara. I didn't know about Giovanni Zatara.
I didn't either.
Her dad, who does the same thing.
Yeah. Zatara, I think, came first in like the comics continuity, but then Zatanna became the more popular character, partially because she was a like 70s 80s type character and became like a quote unquote comic book babe, as opposed to like her father, who's just another old man. But she has she has like preacher's daughter vibes because her dad's very overly protective of her. Her first like appearance, she convinces the team to like sneak out and take her on one of her missions instead of like just the normal like tour the HQ and go back home like she was supposed to. She's incredibly strong-willed, which is like part of the spell casting. She's a strong addition to the team and is like the magic explainer whenever they encounter a magic-based villain or artifact or something, and is obviously the wizard in this D&D party comp scenario that I've concocted for all of us. Cool. So that's kind of our main cast of heroes from the team. The Justice League appears in the show. You've got Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Aquaman, Green Lantern Martian Manhunter are all there. The whole conceit of the show is that like this team was formed to do the missions the Justice League doesn't want to necessarily attract attention to, because Superman or Batman going somewhere attracts a lot of attention when you might need a gentler hand in that specific scenario. So that's kind of the role they fill in this universe and why the team was created. Okay. Now we'll move on to the villains, which is always the fun part of any DC topic, because the DC villains are just great. The cast of villains is pulled from all corners of the DC canon, but there is a similar hierarchy of like league level villains that are shown to be more like masterminds, and then like team level villains that they keep fighting and are like carrying out the designs of the like league level villains. The show has a monster of the week type feel in some of the filler episodes, with like the the ultimate goal of those like individual monsters of the week feeding into the larger goal of the higher up villains. So like each thwarted or accomplished scheme of the low level villains feeds up into the higher plan. Lex Luthor, Vandal Savage, Queen Bee, and Clarion the Witch Boy are all kind of our high level villains.
What was that last one?
Clarion the Witch Boy. He is a magic user. He is the embodiment of chaos, and he is an ancient entity, the embodiment of chaos that takes the form of an annoying like hot topic teen.
Yeah, he looks like a douche.
Kind of the opposite of Raven.
Kind of
yes.
Yeah. Kind of the opposite of Raven. Matt, he is a douche. He's just his whole thing is like being an annoying bratty kid and also having chaos magic. So it's a whole thing.
He's like shitty Loki.
Yeah. All of these are apt descriptors. So these four are kind of our high level villains. But they all seem to keep their hands like relatively clean as far as like actual crimes go for the most part in the series, with Clarion being the one who interacts kind of most with the team from the high level villains. Lex Luthor especially like shows up a lot and admits to scheming, but he's very like, but you don't know what I am scheming. Like, I'll tell you, I'm doing stuff, but you guys aren't going to figure it out because I'm Lex Luthor. So that's fun. Always fun when he shows up. They frequently refer to an entity known as the Light, aggressive air quotes on that, in an ambiguous manner at being the center of the plan. But they never seem to show concern as they are seemingly like set back by the victories of the team. Like every time they win, they're like, yes, we may have lost the battle, but the war will still be won by the Light, and everything is proceeding according to plan, even though it seems like they just lost. So that's
just a minor setback, etc., etc.
However, the show loves its B and C list villains as well, and they keep coming back whenever the plots center around certain character or plot lines. So we have characters like Bane and Ultra Humanite.
That's Ultra Humanite.
Ultra Humanite is a ultra intelligent, genetically modified gorilla. Much in the vein,
but not Gorilla Grodd.
But not Gorilla Grodd, a different ultra intelligent, genetically modified gorilla from a different villains rogues gallery.
Common misconception.
Yeah, right. Thank you. He looks like the main antagonist gorilla from Planet of the Apes.
Sure,
he does. He has a very similar jaw shape.
DC had a weird gorilla fever in the like late 50s, early 60s. And
it's called monkeypox, Kyle.
It's not called monkeypox, Matt. So Bane and Ultra Humanite are running like illegal operations off this South American island called Santa Prisca. Santa Prisca is a fictional island in the DC universe, which serves as a stand-in for whatever South American country was causing people to panic during the 70s and 80s. They are doing like, they call it Cobra Venom. They so Bane's like powers come from the Venom serum or whatever. They made a better version of that, and that's the Venom in this universe. Dang. Yeah. So that's Bane and Ultra Humanite. And then you have Queen Bee, Mastermind, or no, not Mastermind. I got that name wrong. It's Queen Bee and Simon, spelled Psimon, like psychic.
I don't like that one.
Yeah. They serve as Miss Martian's main kind of combatants because they're all telepaths. And they operate out of the fictional country of Bialia, which is DC's long-standing Middle East panic representative country. We have Dr. T.O. Morrow and Professor Ivo show up whenever robotic shenanigans are at play. And we have two street-level villains, Sportsmaster and Cheshire, like the Cheshire Cat, who are part of Artemis's past, and we find that out.
Sportsmaster.
Yeah,
so
so
sports summer camp.
Frantically Googling.
Sportsmaster is our most paste pot Pete type villain, where like the original version of Sportsmaster literally did like football shaped bombs and like
Awesome.
hit baseballs at people and like soccer balls that have spikes shoot out of them when they get close to the bad guy.
He's just a man.
He's just
a man in a jacket with a thing over his face with a hockey mask.
They wanted to combine Crossbones from DC with Casey Jones from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that's what we got here.
So he's like a paste pot Pete type villain in the comics, and they've kind of reskinned him in this, where he's still like, it's all like vaguely sports themed, but it's more like javelins and archery and shooting type sports that
Sharp
actually
sports.
Yeah. Why would you bring a football bomb when there's so many sports that have guns?
Yes.
When knife sports is out there as a real thing.
Sports.
Yeah.
So that's Sportsmaster. Sportsmaster shows up
Wow.
a lot throughout season 1, guys.
Apparently,
Our
he was
comics-
also in the live-action show Stargirl for the DC universe.
Probably.
I did not
Yep.
watch or know anything
I
about
don't know,
that.
Stargirl. How are comics? How are comics?
How have comics? So like I said, this show does a great job of taking these like 70s and 80s paste pot Pete level villains and turning them into something a little more sinister for the show. Sportsmaster being the most like apt example of this, but like Simon is also from one of those where like his name is Simon, and get it? It's Psychic and Simon. And then like this also is a collection of these Cold War panic characters from around the same time, with like countries like Bialia and Santa Prisca being more like actual settings and diplomatic like considerations to take under, rather than just like an excuse to have your xenophobia not directed at an actual country that exists, which it wasn't, which is what they were concepted as in the original comics. So it takes all these like old ideas that might not be the best to have in your more grounded superhero cartoon and makes them a little more grounded and realistic. So that's the setup, the characters, how we got here, so to speak. So with that, if you guys have any questions so far, I'd love to answer those, and then we'll kick to a break.
I don't think I have any questions. I mean, seems pretty straightforward. I'm excited to hear about the story because your setup so far has been incredibly Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.-y, which I very much like. So I'm excited to hear about the story.
Yeah, more of this actually, like, save for the sportsmen.
Oh my God.
More of this sounds pretty familiar to me. Like, I know a lot of these people, more than at least than I thought I would. So
Great.
I guess I know more about DC than I expected. Which honestly, I don't know how to feel about yet. I need to process that over the break.
To bring you back down to a solid level, Andrew, when Kyle said that Green Lantern is there in the beginning, there's actually 2 Green Lanterns. Can you name two Green Lanterns?
Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan.
Okay. Oh, those are the 2 that were there?
Those are the
You did
2.
it.
Those are the 2.
Name a third.
Ryan Reynolds.
All right, I have nothing to add, Kyle.
I will throw out. They do a good joke about the third Green Lantern. This is a mild spoiler, but not super. Towards the end of season 1, the Justice League votes like new members into the Justice League, and they bring up the third Green Lantern, Guy Gardner. And the two Green Lanterns that are already on the Justice League are immediately like, absolutely not, no way, you guys do not want Guy Gardner on this team. And it like it's a very funny joke that I forgot about, and it caught me off guard and made me like actually laugh out loud. So they honor DC canon very well too. Is
That's cool.
a good
Yeah, that
tie-in
rules.
to that joke. So with that, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll go through a long synopsis of season 1 and a quick synopsis of the rest of the show. All right, we are back. This is the synopsis portion of the show for Young Justice. So if you think you're going to watch Young Justice and don't want any big spoilers for season 1, turn back now. Otherwise, here we go. All right, so episode 1, we open on Robin and Batman, Green Arrow and Speedy, Aquaman and Lad, and Flash and Kid Flash all separately on their way to something important. They keep calling it the big day. Like each one of them's like, we gotta go, it's the big day. When each group is interrupted by their own respective iced theme villain attacking their respective cities.
Which, like, there's just more than you think there are.
I can only think of one.
Who are all the ice people?
Okay, you can probably do 2. So Mr. Freeze is the easy one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's
Captain Cold.
That's the 2 that I knew.
Have we talked about Captain Cold before?
That's a stupid name.
It's a Flash villain.
Oh,
He's the opposite of the Heat Miser.
And I don't. Do you know the other 2 offhand, Todd? I forget because there's 6 ice villains.
I think it's so
but only 4 of them show up here.
What in the world?
Incredible.
I honestly think that.
I think is it Icicle Jr.? Is Icicle Jr. there?
I think his name is actually Jack Frost. I think that is the actual name of that character.
They refer to him as Icicle Jr.
Yeah, they name him. They call him Junior, and I do not know the woman of the group.
Okay, and then the woman is Killer Cold, I believe.
There's Killer Frost,
Killer
Ice
Frost,
Maiden, the Cryonic Man, Minister Blizzard,
Blizzard,
Icicle, Polar Boy.
I think the other 2 are Icicle Jr. and Killer Frost. Super not important.
Could be it. Yeah, this is
kind of is, but let's move on.
But they all attack separately, and each of these pairs stop their respective ice villains without capturing them. So they stop the attack, and all the ice villains escape. And we find out that each of these sidekicks are excited because they finally get to go into the Hall of Justice and presumably join the Justice League. Yep, there they are. A whole bunch of ice-themed villains.
Oh my God.
In our show notes.
Incredible.
However, upon their arrival at the Hall of Justice, Speedy reveals that this is all just a facade, a gateway to their space station, their actual space station base, the Watchtower, and that the Justice League just uses the Hall of Justice as a publicity front for their operations. Speedy, annoyed that they weren't given access to the League in the way that they were promised, denounces Green Arrow and leaves. When all the ice villains attack again, but this time the city that the Hall of Justice is in. All 4 of them have teamed up and they're attacking that city now. And so the League orders all the sidekicks to stay put here in the Hall of Justice while the Justice League goes off to fight these villains. And the sidekicks are all watching the fight play out on the news when Robin notices that a nearby building is on fire, seemingly independent of this ice villain attack. He does some whiz kid research on his wrist iPad and further learns that this building is consuming more electricity than the surrounding 4 blocks around it. It's on its own energy grid system and has a lot of red flags. And that is enough to convince him and Kid Flash to go check it out. And Aqualad kind of less enthusiastically follows along to make sure that they don't get themselves killed. They go into this building, which turns out to be Star Labs, and they quickly uncover an advanced conspiracy to create these genomorphs, which are a genetically modified cloned labor force that's all connected by a psychic link made by Star Labs and Project Cadmus to be this half standing army, half free labor for their secret covert sci-fi nonsense.
Every year of real life the phrase genetically modified labor force gets scarier and scarier.
I promise you, Matt, in 7 years, you're going to see a New Yorker article saying, have you considered the genetically modified labor force?
Why genetically modified labor force is actually good for the
Is
unemployed.
actually good for the unemployed.
Keep calm and love the tentacle.
So determined to get to the very bottom of this conspiracy that they've unearthed, the team go deeper, literally taking an elevator into like a sub-basement lab of this building, where they find the real operation. Thousands of these xenomorphs of varying sizes, literally like this half psychic genetically modified army. Robin keeps digging and finds a room that is even like further secured and off the grid, so to speak, and insists that they like keep going to find out what they're actually hiding here. Like this xenomorph stuff is great and scary, but like there is something they really don't want us to find. And they push through this army, assisted by a mysterious psychic voice, until they find a room labeled Project capital K lowercase r, like an element symbol. It's the element symbol for kryptonite. So it's Project Kryptonite. And they force their way in, and they find this dark-haired kid about their age in this big sci-fi vat with the Superman insignia on his shirt. They let him out, and he immediately attacks them with the strength and speed of a younger Superman, but lacking his ability to fly or shoot heat vision out of his eyes. The psychic voice speaks to all four of them now and tells them that this is Project Superboy, and that he, the voice, has led the team to him to help all of them escape and free Superboy. Superboy kind of snaps out of his rage, and they all fight their way out through this xenomorph army and end up bringing Star Labs down around them, as a group of superpowered teenagers are wont to do. Only to be pulled out of the rubble by the Justice League. The team tells Batman and Superman what happened, and upon meeting Superboy, Superman uncomfortably flies away, which does not go unnoticed by Batman or Superboy.
And it goes just like that, too.
Yeah,
like,
he doesn't say anything. He's just like, I gotta go, and flies away.
He's just a big boner. He's like,
Yeah.
I have to do a thing and just leave.
I have to return these videotapes.
I got food in the oven.
Batman tells the team that he does the disappointed dad thing of we got to figure out what we're going to do with you. Like, you disobeyed our orders, went out and fought this thing, but you did free this clone of Superman, which is a good thing. So we just got to figure out what we're going to do with you. We cut and come back to the team regrouped with Batman and the other League members at a different old Justice League hideout, Mount Justice. Batman tells the group that they will be part of an auxiliary team for the Justice League, going on scouting, covert, and peacekeeping missions that will be less confrontational and allow the League to address things they deem noteworthy without attracting the attention that sending Batman or Superman would garner. Additionally, they will be trained here in Mount Justice by varying League members and chaperoned by the android and Justice League member Red Tornado, because Red Tornado is an android and doesn't need to sleep, or
he's the vision of
the group. He partially wants to observe these teenagers to figure out what makes them human, but also is very android about it.
He sure looks exactly like Vision.
Yeah.
Right. It's not subtle.
It's not. Finally, Martian Manhunter pops in and tells them that the team will be joined by his niece, Miss Martian, who immediately crushes on Superboy and is immediately crushed upon by Wally, thus creating our love triangle in this teen superhero show.
As is tradition.
As the prophecy foretold. We cut to the shadowy images of who we later find out are Lex Luthor, Vandal Savage, Queen Bee, Ra's al Ghul, and Clarion the Witch Boy, talking about how the fire at Cadmus was only a setback, But now all the pieces are in place and their plan is in motion, and soon even the Justice League will follow them, quote, into the light. End episode 1 on that ominous note.
Okay.
That's our setup. We've got our new team formed and our kind of conspiracy for further villainy laid out to us. So the team goes on some preliminary missions in a Monster of the Week series of episodes where they like hash out who's going to be leader. Surprise, it's Aqualad, like I said earlier. And they start the process of like how to be a team and not just 4 superpowered kids throwing their energy at the same problem.
Ooh, I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Is
No.
this a thing where it's like they've got to save the world and get back in time for gym class? Like, do they have to like go to high school at the same time? Is this what's happening?
We do get like a small high school subplot, but it's never the like balancing superheroing with high school. It's just
Got
like,
it.
hey, we don't have any superheroing to do today. Why don't we go to that high school we went to 8
go
episodes ago?
audit a class.
Yeah.
All right. That feels weirder somehow.
Yeah.
Right. So they meet through these like first few Monster of the Week episodes. We meet our lower level villains like Bane, Hugo Strange. I keep calling him Mastermind, but it's actually Simon. There's a villain just called Brain, which looks like a Dalek but it's DC, if you know what the Daleks are from Doctor Who. A lot of Doctor Who in this, which makes sense because it's right around the time the Doctor Who popularity was popping
Art
up.
imitates art.
Yeah. And we meet Tio Morrow and Professor Ivo. We meet Blockbuster and Abracadabra and Sportsmaster and Cheshire, who are these low-level villains. And if you want me to tell you about...
Oh, yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
Tio Morrow, maybe more than anything else you've said.
Tio Morrow is kind of a... he's like a Tony Stark-esque character.
Mm-hmm.
He's always shown... He's very old now, but he's shown as like having operated 30 years ago, and he made all these androids. Red Tornado is one such creation. He had this fixation on like making an android superhero, and then he turned evil at some point. They don't go into all the details.
A suit of armor across
Yeah. So they're all carrying out these seemingly like unconnected heists of like new emerging technology or magical artifacts, but also are like inexplicably accompanied by a villain from the previous heist or like the next heist. Like it's always like Bane is doing his thing with the Cobra venom, making like better venom, but also Brain, the brain in a jar villain, is also there.
Hold on, no.
Yeah.
But what if there were a team of just brain in a jar villains?
They get close in a couple episodes. Or you have like Abracadabra trying to steal a magical artifact, but also Sportsmaster is there for some reason. Like it's these weird like it makes sense that this villain is here, but it doesn't make sense that villain is there as well.
I like that they theme themselves up. They all have to have some sort of like through line in their one note personality for them to team up together.
Yeah,
they all drew names out of a hat, you know.
Yeah.
So we meet some future players in the series like Kobu. Now stick with me here. An ancient embodiment of order to counter Clarion the Witch Boy, an ancient embodiment of chaos. Kobu can only exist on our plane through possessing the body of someone else to become Dr. Fate, which does come back up later in the show.
Also the storyline of Fire Emblem Path of Radiance.
Also the story of Fire Emblem Path of Radiance.
Everything.
We do get our The Gang Goes to High School episode in these Monster of the Week episodes where Superboy picks his name, Connor, at the suggestion of Megan, which is a name we later learn is a name from the TV show she based her whole personality off of, and Kent, which viewers will recognize as the last name of Superman Clark Kent, but Connor picks it because it's the name of the guy who was formerly Dr. Fate. The episode where he picks the name happens right after the Dr. Fate episode, and he's like touched by this old man. It's a whole thing. But he's Connor Kent now. And Green Arrow brings Artemis, his new protege, to join the team.
Here's this other kid I found.
Here's this other kid I taught to fight crime. More adventures happen so that the team can get used to Artemis, and so that some distrust can start being sown throughout the team. Connor starts going off on like solo brooding missions. McGann starts to show that she isn't all that she seems to be, and no one knows Artemis when it is hinted that all the other members have like a basic idea of who these other people are. No one knows who Artemis is, and that like immediately causes them to not trust her right away. We then get the return of Speedy, who is now going by Red Arrow, who reaches out to Aqualad, seeking the team's help to ensure that a diplomatic meeting between the figureheads of two countries, fictional representations of North and South Korea, and a mysterious negotiator happens like peacefully and without interruption.
I also like the idea that like these countries don't have diplomatic arms. Like,
Yeah.
there's not an entire CIA thing.
No.
That.
Nah. So this mysterious negotiator shows up to the summit, and it's revealed that it's Lex Luthor, apparently the only person who like both of these world leaders will sit down and talk to each other with.
Okay, real quick. Is it that far-fetched that tomorrow North and South Korea could announce they'll only meet with Jeff Bezos?
I mean,
would we be really floored?
This already happened in 2016, where like Donald Trump was the only person able to like get through to Kim Jong-un.
It wasn't Donald Trump. It was what's his name? Who used to play basketball. It was Dennis Rodman.
And Dennis Rodman.
Well, Dennis Rodman.
It was a little bit of both. Yes.
Our delegate for the future was Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman walked so that Donald Trump could loaf.
Good. Yes. When the negotiator is revealed to be Lex Luthor, the summit is attacked by Cheshire, seeking to assassinate Lex Luthor, thus like preventing these peace talks. Red Arrow attempts to intervene, but is bested by Cheshire. But it's okay because Lex Luthor assistant has a gun for an arm and fights off Cheshire instead.
Neat.
Yeah.
Cool.
How convenient.
Lex Luthor thanks an embarrassed Red Arrow and Aqualad for like attempting to help, and invites them to come in and help fend off any other like future assassination attempts. Not wanting to leave the leaders alone with Lex Luthor, both accept and like go in and sit in on these peace talks. The peace talks happen. The North and South Korean analog leaders reach some sort of like agreement or treaty, and everyone goes to leave when they are all attacked again, this time by Sportsmaster, who is once again thwarted, but this time by Red Arrow and Aqualad. Cornered by Red Arrow, Sportsmaster taunts him with information that they have a mole infiltrating the team. There's someone on their team of sidekicks that is like feeding information to the bad guys. But he leaves without telling him who it is. He's just like, hey, there's a mole on your team. I'm out of here.
Yeah, so discontent.
Sounds like a you problem.
Yeah. And that's how like every time the team shows up, the bad guys are able to like escape and recover some part of their plan, even though they are ultimately like, even though they're defeated, they get away because of this mole. Red Arrow tells Aqualad this, and they together kind of decide that Sportsmaster is likely lying, but Aqualad will keep tabs on the team without revealing that's what he's doing. More adventures happen. Superboy eventually overhears Aqualad telling Batman about the potential mole and like flips his shit. Because Superboy's whole thing is like he's just starting to learn how to trust people, and learns that Aqualad is keeping this secret from him. So he He loses it. He tells the rest of the team that Calder expects one of them to be a mole, and that, like, hey, our leader doesn't actually trust any of us guys. Why are we listening to him? They go out on a mission to investigate a bunch of animals that have been juiced with this cobra venom, and the mission like falls apart because they won't listen to Calder, and then they learn like, hey, he had to do it because that's how a mole works. You don't want to tip him off. And they all listen to him again, and everyone's happy, and they all think Red Tornado is the mole, because Red Tornado was his, backing up a bit, his programming was overwritten by three other androids created by Tio Maro, and all four of them attack Mount Justice. It's a whole thing. But they all assume that like Red Tornado was the mole, and that they're all in the clear now because of that. Yeah. Smash cut to the Injustice League attacks multiple cities.
The Injustice League, Kyle.
That shouldn't be that surprising. No, that's not that bad.
Yeah,
that's not the weirdest thing to
The
take
Injustice
away from this.
League.
I am okay. I know that it's not surprising. I just didn't know that the Injustice. I don't know shit about DC Comics, dude.
This like comes out of nowhere in the show too. It's like top of a new episode. Guys, the Injustice League is attacking with genetically modified plants made by poison ivy. They've got their plants with this like cobra venom in them, so they're super strong, gigantic, monstrous plants. They are controlled by one of the worst versions of the Joker that I have ever seen in media. It looks like David Tennant's Doctor Who. It's voiced by Brett.
He fucks.
He doesn't. He sucks so bad.
He's
not great.
He's very Jared Leto.
Very precursor to Leto Joker for sure. He's voiced by Brett Spinner of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Big old weirdo.
Who's also a big old weirdo, but it's not good. Like, this is not a good depiction. It's very a Hot Topic teenager's idea of what the Joker should be. Yeah, he just says real cringy things the whole episode.
His time skip version is a little bit better. Also, is there a time skip? Because it looks like there's a time skip.
Shh.
Okay. Because I wasn't on board, but if you would have led with there's a time skip.
There's a time skip, I think, between each season, Andrew.
Okay. Well,
at least, yeah. Yeah. So the team works together and they stop the Injustice League while the Justice League is like doing something else. I forget why they're distracted and not able to help, but they are. So the team stops the Injustice League, but only after Aqualad goes and gets the Helmet of Fate and channels Dr. Fate into his body and like uses Dr. Fate to win, who even more reluctantly than the previous time decides to let Calder go, but says like, hey, I'm not going to let the next person go. Like, this is it. Next person who puts on the Helmet of Fate, they're Dr. Fate forever now.
You know the rules. You put on the helmet.
Yep. Literally that.
You become Pierce Brosnan. You do it.
So we then have a few more missions. Zatanna is eventually introduced to the team by her father, Zatara, but he doesn't let her join right away. He's the overprotective father who like, he's been a Justice Leaguer for a while. He knows how this is going to go down. He doesn't want to put his teenage daughter in danger. However, that doesn't stop her from running away and going on a few missions with the team anyway. We get an episode where Clarion the Witch Boy shows up again and casts a spell that removes all adults from the world.
Like the Jimmy Neutron movie.
It's like the Jimmy Neutron movie, exactly.
Hell yeah, I love the Jimmy Neutron movie.
Yes.
That rules.
And that's it now too.
Except it more like it separates them into like an adult and an adult-less universe. And it's done to get rid of the Justice League. He's like, hey, the Justice League are all adults. I'll cast the spell
to make it so that the Young Justice are the kid versions of the Justice League. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
We all get it.
Some coolness ensues. There's this whole plot point of Captain Marvel being able to like traverse the two worlds and like be the coordination point between the two teams. Yes,
Shazam, Andrew. Shazam.
Shazam.
Thank you.
Not
Thank you.
Captain
not
Marvel
Brie
being
Larson.
Shazam. And Clarion is eventually brought down, this time by Zatanna putting on the helmet of fate. But Dr. Fate says, like, nope, I told you guys what was going to happen. I'm not letting go. And best thing is, like, this person even knows how to use magic. So, like, my magic is even better. I am not letting go. Until her father, Zatara, confronts him and is like, hey, that's my daughter. Use me instead. I'm even, like, more magical and an adult, and of just generally I'm going to be stronger.
And also an adult.
And Dr. Fate goes for this, sealing Zatara to Dr. Fate. Zatanna, now without a family, joins the team. And before we get too far away from Captain Marvel, I do want to throw out Captain Marvel is our other surprise kind of celebrity voice cast, at least at first. The first two Captain Marvel appearances, he is voiced by Rob Lowe. Yeah. He is then taken over by Rob Lowe's brother, Chad Lowe, for the remaining appearances.
Well, was that South Park where it was like John Stamos' brother was loving you?
Rob Lowe, famous
dude.
for wearing a hat that just has the NFL logo on it to a football game. Well, I found the episode cover art.
Oh man,
we get some more.
Picture it says so much and so little.
We get some solo stories. Miss Martian goes off and fights Queen Bee and Simon. Here you see the first actual spelling of Simon. Who they
it's not like Simon from SSX Tricky.
No,
It
isn't.
isn't.
It's not like that.
A much cooler. What a reference, Andrew.
I
Jeez,
didn't just think that, pull it out from my brain. I looked it up earlier, and I've had a picture of Simon from SSX Tricky on my computer for 55 minutes now.
No, Simon is another like brain in a jar adjacent character where his head his like skull is transparent and you can see his brain.
As one does.
He sucks. But they blackmail Miss Martian with the information that she is not a green Martian as she has been claiming this whole time, but a much more monstrous looking white Martian. And we get this whole like backstory of Martian racism and like how the green Martians kind of were treated the white Martians like shit because they looked big and ugly. Matt, that's where your Miss Martian true form image comes in. If
hit
you want
that Google search, if you haven't,
to drop that in here for us.
Which the Martian Manhunter also has a true form. It's just not as monstrous.
Yes.
Yeah.
It looks more like a Bionicle.
Yeah. So Queen Bee and Simon kind of threaten to tell the rest of the team, like, hey, you aren't who you say you are, and we're going to tell your friends that, and they aren't going to like the white Martian version of you because she's big and scary. Yeah, there it is. So you better do what we say when the time comes, or we're gonna out your secret to your friends. Artemis is confronted in her home. We see Artemis, like, she lives alone with her mom in like kind of a rundown apartment, but she is confronted in that apartment by Sportsmaster, who reveals to the audience that he is Artemis's father and that Cheshire is Artemis's sister and Sportsmaster's other daughter. So they blackmail Artemis with like, have fun playing hero, but we're gonna ask for your help at a key moment, and you better help us then, or we're gonna tell your friends about your criminal past. So we got that, and then Superboy gets this like call at a frequency only he can hear because he's half Kryptonian.
Sure.
To learn that he was summoned by Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor reveals that Superboy's human DNA, in fact, came from Lex Luthor, making him, making him Connor's father in a way. And he gives him these shields, which are like these nicotine patches that suppress Connor's human DNA, giving him like the rest of the powers of Superman that he's supposed to have. So he like, we get this kind of like don't do drugs subplot, or don't use steroids subplot of like Connor like slapping these nicotine patches on and like getting juiced with power, and he gets more angry when he uses them. But Connor tries to stop Lex Luthor from escaping. He's like, no, I'm going to take you in. Like, this isn't happening. But Lex Luthor puts him into a Winter Soldier type trance with the words Red Sun, something that's like was baked into his like conditioning when he was a captured clone.
Is that a Superman thing? Superman is weird under the Red Sun.
Yeah, Red Sun. Red Sun is, Superman loses his powers under red sunlight. Superman Red Sun is a alternate storyline of Superman as well. So there's a few words tied in there, but So we've got 3 compromised team members at this point. And more adventures happen. That's our yada yada of like, there's some more Monster of the Week stuff that like gives us more clues, but ultimately like is a Monster of the Week story. And the Justice League votes in some new members, including Red Arrow. One of the missions begins with the 3 compromised members getting called upon now. So like their villain handlers are calling in their favor basically, and they all show up to the villains and like see the other one there. Like all the villains are hanging out. They call in Superboy, Miss Martian, and Artemis, and they all show up, and they're like, they do the Spider-Man meme of like, what? You're here. Yeah. Except we like flash back, and it's revealed that like as they all left to answer the call from their villains, they stopped and told their teammates what was going on, how they were being blackmailed, and like what was happening. So they pull the switcheroo and like all show up and like take out these villains instead, which is a very cool penultimate episode. This is the second last episode of the season that this happens in, and it's like, hey, they're a team, they're all trusting each other, excuse me, and it's all, and like, look, it's all good. They figured out and can do the espionage themselves now. So we move into what is the last episode. The Justice League holds a celebration on the Watchtower to welcome these new members, and they celebrate taking down the Injustice League again, which is like what the group of villains blackmailing them called themselves again as well. Everything's happy. And we cut away to see Batman alone in a lab studying some tech recovered from a recent mission that the villains were trying to get, when Roy, Red Arrow, enters and asks Batman why he's not at the party. Batman says something about like never stopping to pursue our villains, figure out what they're doing, makes it very clear like, no, I'm not coming down to this party, I'm staying here. And Roy's like, well, okay,
crime
then
doesn't rest, and neither can I.
Yeah. And Roy says like, well, okay, I wanted to do this all together, but I'll do it here. And he puts this like evil looking biochip into the back of Batman's neck where it's absorbed, putting Batman under some kind of mind control, and revealing Roy to the audience as the long sought after mole that like was in the group. Roy grants open access to the Watchtower. Vandal Savage teleports in and claims victory over the Justice League. We see the Justice League all kneel in front of Vandal Savage, seemingly all having these like those biochips inserted into them, under the control of the Light, as this group of supervillains call themselves. Lex Luthor, Vandal Savage, Queen Bee, and Clarion are the Light in this regard. Mount Justice is attacked by various members of the Justice League, trying to, take down the only thing threatening to ruin the Light's plan. The team is able to barely escape. They are assisted by a newly freed from mind control Red Tornado, There's this whole backstory where Red Tornado like builds this human body for himself to move his consciousness into. They do that to like free him of the brain chip. So they free him from the brain chip, and he fills him in on what's going on. And Roy Harper shows up, also free of his what we come to learn was Cadmus programming, similar to the like Red Sun keyword stopping Connor in his tracks earlier. We learn this Roy Harper is actually a clone of the real Roy Harper who has been imprisoned further in Cadmus. They cloned his body and programmed this clone with the desire to join the Justice League, and then once he was in the Justice League, this like second programming kicks in and makes him agent. He's a sleeper agent. He's the Winter Soldier. They Winter Soldiered the real Roy Harper, basically.
That is some Metal Gear Solid ass shit right
there. So the team, Red Tornado and Roy, all infiltrate the Watchtower and takes down this brainwashed Justice League using a cure chip developed by Robin and the bioship. They like feed one of the bad chips into it, and it spits out a bunch of cures for him.
Well, that's handy.
Yeah. A little Deus Ex Machina, but we've got 22 minutes to wrap this episode up in, so we can't get bogged down. The day is saved. All the couples who have developed a season of sexual tension kiss, because it's also New Year's. It's also New Year's for some reason.
Okay, yeah, of course. That absolutely tracks.
And all is well, except Batman, in like the postlude, kind of tells Robin that he and 15 other League members were off-world, unaccounted for. They have no memory of what they did, but they were off in space doing something for 16 hours. What were they doing? Maybe we'll find out in season 2. Roll credits, season 2.
Okay. Alrighty.
That's season 1 of Young Justice.
In your notes here, I read ahead a little bit, and you have in like one line, like you're talking about like the season of sexual tension kiss, and the next time you're like, all is well except Batman and Robin. I read that it's Batman and Robin kiss.
So really not funny. The payoff you were expecting.
No. Could have been any Robin. Who knows?
Could have been any Robin. So yeah, that's season 1. Like I said, Matt, very Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.y. Very
sure is.
We get lots of good comic booky dumb sci-fi and comic booky dumb magic and all the good. It's very good dumb comic book stuff.
And a lot of sexual tension too.
And there is a non-zero amount of sexual tension. Seasons 2 through 4 all involve a time skip. There's a time skip between seasons 1 and 2, 2 and 3, and 3 and 4. Season 1 to 2, I think is a couple years. I think they're all a couple years, or like 5 years at the most. But season 2 is a couple year time skip. Robin becomes Nightwing in the gap. Some team members leave, some team members join. But season 2, we learn that what the Justice League was doing when they were gone for an unaccounted 16 hours was war crimes. They were doing Vandal Savage sent them off to like go do a planet-wide genocide, basically. And the remaining members of that the people who survived that genocide, spent the 2 years we haven't been watching Young Justice preparing their retaliation. So that's the entire plot of season 2, is that this alien
invasion.
Season 2 is called Young Justice Invasion. So this alien force is coming to Earth to get revenge on Earth for sending its finest warriors out to genocide them.
Yeah.
We get we have like where am I here? We get some new members in season 2 include Beast Boy, who was a character.
Fun.
It's fun, but it's the way they do that is they introduce the character in season 1 as a like non-powered like kid of someone they help, who gets injured in an attack, and the only way to save them is getting a blood transfusion from Miss Martian, because she can like change her blood to match his blood type.
Sure.
And then he gets the Beast Boy powers because she can shapeshift, and now he can shapeshift, but different. We get Blue Beetle, who is connected to this alien race that is coming to attack us. We learn that that's kind of the driving plot of the team's involvement, is Blue Beetle joins the team, and then they learn like how he is connected to this alien race throughout it. And then the twist at the end is that the race sent Blue Beetle ahead to like do recon and beam back information to the home planet so they know how to attack. We get a new Robin, Tim Drake this time. And we get a Batgirl, we get Bumblebee, Lagoon Boy, who is
Lagoon Boy.
who is like
Wow.
a C-list sidekick of Aquaman, comes in. We get Wonder Girl and a new speedster by the name of Impulse, who is like comes from the future and is a future descendant of Barry Allen, and that's how he's a speedster.
Did you guys know that the Flash messes with timelines? Did you guys know that?
We start dabbling in our timeline stuff.
I don't like Flash lore. I legitimately do not like Flash lore.
It's all held together with bubblegum and popsicle sticks.
And the Speed Force. And the Speed Force.
It's that meme where the water is rushing out of the tank and they slap the tape on it and it just says Speed Force.
It's
This, okay. So
this
season 2 is a 5-year time jump from season 1.
Okay.
Sorry.
Whoever this Aqualad stand-in is, looks like
Lagoon
a Murloc.
Boy?
Yeah, Lagoon Boy looks like a Murloc from Warcraft.
Yes. So that's the gist of season 2. Alien invasion, have to fight off the Kree, more or less. The DC Universe's version of the Kree are coming. And then we hold on. Let me look here, make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, also Darkseid is involved, because
Darkseid. You can't ignore Darkseid
because you can't go 2 years into a DC property without bringing Darkseid in.
Well, and if they were really trying to like get people to this,
right, that's the big Darkseid is always the big like go to like trying to get people. So season 2 ends. We jump ahead 2 more years to season 3, which is called Outsiders. This is the one. I have not watched seasons 3 or 4. I'm only going off of plot summaries that I have read. Outsiders deals with a similar plot line to The Boys, it seems, where they are dealing the ability to give people superpowers as like an analogy for like drug trafficking. So that's kind of the main plot line here. We get into more like fake geopolitics with these Cold War fictional stand-in countries, have royal battles for royalty and the crown within these countries. We have new heroes like Geoforce, who I don't know a ton about, but seems to be from one of these fictional countries. They bring in Terra, which fans of Teen Titans might recognize. She comes back.
Heartbreaking love story of Teen Titans.
That's right.
Yes. Voiced again by Tara Strong, as she was in Teen Titans. So that's
cool.
That's a cool
fun.
connection. The DC version of the Eternals shows up. They are the new
gods, right?
The new gods, yes. Denizens, thank you, of the planet New Genesis. They're involved as well. I think that is how the ability to like give out or transfer these superpowers come in. So it's again kind of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.y with Terrigenesis and kind of the boys with the V compound and everything. That's season 3. Everyone's older. The images I saw of it had Aqualad with a beard now to show you that time had passed.
Oh, neat.
And in my synopsis, I saw somewhere Aquaman leaves in a like Thor, I'm over this type of thing. So Aqualad is now king of Atlantis by this point. In these 7 years, he becomes king of Atlantis.
It's not a great beard.
Yeah, it isn't great.
Todd, you want to drop that beard into the show notes?
It's not a good beard. Also, part of Aqualad's whole shtick is that I think it's discovered or revealed that his father is Black Manta or Manta Ray.
Yes, that comes up in season 2. That's a whole point where he like abandons the team for a while to go join his dad in crime. Yeah, but then it's revealed that he's doing a double agent thing and turns on his dad last minute. Yeah, that's a whole thing. Then we go to season 4, which, let me look here, doesn't seem to have another time skip. Seems to follow closely after season 3. Opens with Miss Martian and Superboy preparing for their wedding on Mars.
Ooh.
When Phantom Zone shenanigans take place. People get trapped in the Phantom Zone and they have to get them out.
What's
And
the Phantom Zone?
the Phantom Zone, for those of you who don't know, is a concept from Superman. It's from the Superman comics. It's where Superman, it's a dimension of nothing where Superman sends the villains that he can't can't subdue otherwise.
People
That
get
is
trapped in the squares in Superman 2.
Yep,
Okay.
that's the Phantom Zone in 2. It's where it's how Superman deals with his unstoppable villains. Since he doesn't kill people, he banishes them
Just
to
tortures them
worse?
forever.
Yes, it is absolutely worse.
I'm not here to make those kind of calls. I'm just here to relay information to you and let you decide. So yeah, that's Young Justice. What do you guys think?
That was fun.
Yeah. This is one of those where, like I said, I watched I think about 4 episodes to prepare for this. I'm gonna keep watching it.
Yeah,
It's
good.
This is a very digestible bit of DC, and I have found so much of their live action stuff unable to be digested.
Undigestible. Yes.
Yeah. It is unpalatable.
Gives Todd a bad feeling in his tummy.
I get a sad tummy when I try and digest that.
This is a very, very good crash course on a lot of DC lore very quickly. And like Todd said, very digestibly. It doesn't overwhelm you with too much outside of like the main characters, but it also doesn't try and apologize for any of the sillier bits that are like buried in these characters' history either. And it owns it all, and it makes it work in this universe.
It also scratches the itch that, like I said earlier, I was a big Teen Titans fan. Then when they changed the animation style, I did not like it. And this is kind of my way to be like, okay, I can get back to this.
Yeah.
There's nothing more divisive between millennials and Gen Z than Teen Titans original versus Teen Titans Go.
You are absolutely right.
So true.
And apparently Teen Titans Go also isn't a bad show. Once you can clear that hurdle of like, it is very
It's different.
It's hideous to look at.
It's very different. Its animation is much different and not enjoyable if you did watch the original Teen Titans. But apparently it is it does the same of like, it incorporates actual lore from the comics into its storylines very well. It makes very self-aware jokes about the sillier aspects of comics very well. One bit I've seen going around online recently is they make fun of Jared Leto's Joker in Teen Titans Go.
Good.
It's really good, and they got Mark Hamill to do the voice.
Yeah.
Did they really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Unless they just did a really good impression.
Also,
here I am yet again asking you to watch the Harley Quinn show,
yes,
because I think the Harley Quinn does a lot of the same things that Kyle just mentioned.
I would consider the Harley Quinn show a spiritual successor of Young Justice as well, in that it doesn't apologize for sillier parts of the lore, but embraces them instead. It is more dialed up and more adult than this is.
It is a comedy show first and a comic book show the second.
Yeah.
For example, one of the main characters is Kite Man.
Yes.
Great.
I want to run through some things hidden in the voice cast. Superboy and Superman, because they're clones of each other, is voiced by Nolan North, who you might know as Nathan Drake from the Uncharted series.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool.
North from video games.
From video games. D. Bradley Baker shows up a lot. That's a very it's like he's like Tara Strong in that, like, if you throw a dart at a wall of cartoon characters, you'll probably hit a character Bradley Baker has voiced.
Yeah.
Kevin Michael Richardson shows up in later seasons. He is that black voice actor with the deep black voice that you all know. Another, like, you throw a dart at a wall of cartoon characters, you'll recognize something Kevin Michael Richardson has done.
Oh, no, IMDb isn't working. Oh God.
Oh man,
What do we do now?
Cancel
Wait.
the whole goddamn podcast. We have nothing else.
Mae Whitman shows up in season 3 and season 2.
I love Mae Whitman.
Yeah. She's Wonder Girl when Wonder Girl shows up.
Danica McKellar is Miss Martian.
That's
That's a pretty big get.
Is that?
Danica McKellar was Winnie in the Wonder Years, and she's since she's
okay.
published a bunch of books. She's just kind of like in
So that
in
would
the-
make
the sphere.
the joke about her getting her personality from an old sitcom. That makes that make more sense.
Oh yeah, it does.
D. Bradley Baker did the voice of Olmec of Legends of the
Legends of the
Hidden
Hidden
Temple.
Temple. All
Yeah.
right, cool. That's
Yeah.
I'm back.
Also, Troy Baker, also from video games, is on here. He's
These are
Joel
big
in Last
names.
of Us.
Yeah.
This
These
is
are
a
big names.
This is a stacked cast of voice actors.
Jason Marsden of Disney Channel fame is Bart Allen when Impulse shows up in season 2.
Lacey Chabert, famously the voice of Meg in Family Guy for 4 episodes, and then also in what's her name, Rachel McAdams' sidekick in Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is Zatanna.
I feel like voice acting when we were younger was not a thing for like bigger names, and as we've gotten older, I feel as though bigger name actors are now more okay with doing voice acting, because I'm guessing it's an easier paycheck to cash in on.
Yeah, I mean, you can, like in the case of Rob Lowe playing Shazam, for instance, he probably recorded all the lines for his 2 episodes as Shazam in an afternoon, if that. Like,
right.
And then got a nice paycheck of DC Comics, Warner Brothers money to take home at the end of that 2-hour recording session. So yeah. Any other?
Another one of my favorite voice actors, Yuri Lowenthal, who does the voice of Spider-Man in the PS4 game. Yeah, he also does like a bunch of anime voices.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Right on.
He's in here. I mean, this. Sorry, I could do this all day. This is a stacked cast.
Yeah, man. I mean, go ahead, Kyle.
No, you go first.
Well, I was just gonna give wrap-up thoughts, so you can go ahead.
I was just gonna say, one of the reasons critics loved this so much when it aired was because of the voice acting specifically. I saw more than one thing praising Nolan North for the differences between his Connor Kent and Superman characters specifically, because he voices both and like acts against himself more than once, but sounds very different. And it's very, very well done. So
Right on.
yeah,
I like that.
go ahead with wrap up stuff, Matt.
Yeah, man, I have said it a number of times on this podcast, and I'll say it again. I am not the biggest fan of animation, and that continues to be a big hurdle in the content that I consume for things to climb over. That said, like, I really liked this. I mean, this sounds cool. It sounds, like Todd said, very digestible, which knocks me off of a lot of DC things to begin with. And I don't want to say that this is high on my list, but I could see this being another Neon Genesis Evangelion where, like, one week I've got some time, I watch Young Justice, and then I'm a big old Young Justice stan. So,
and they're quick episodes. They're 20-minute episodes.
They're quick 22-minute episodes. However, that puts season 1 still at like 10 hours of viewing by the end of it. It's 26 episodes. But like Todd said, they go quick. You can churn through 3 of them in an hour, and they're very digestible. They're very fun. They all have a 8.5 or higher on IMDb currently. I cannot recommend at least watching season 1 of the show and seeing how you like it enough. I would definitely recommend that.
Yeah.
Right on.
I would consider watching this before I watch The Mandalorian.
I can't.
I'll watch The
just mad.
Mandalorian when you play Chrono Trigger.
And I said I'll play it when it's on Switch.
All right.
Well, it looks
on
like
that note, thank you all for listening to Debate This. You can follow along with the arguments on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at DebateThisCast, or on our website at debatethiscast.com. And we have been doing something special on our Patreon this summer. For the last few months, we've been releasing pilot episodes of new Patreon show formats in what we are calling the Summer O Pilots. If you didn't listen to the clip show we released to If you didn't listen to the clip show we released to the Debate This main feed last week, be sure to check that out. Thank you, Matt, for putting in all that great effort on the clip show. It came out very good. Our last pilot goes live at the end of this month, and it will then be time for our patrons to decide which pilot will be renewed as our next official Patreon show following the conclusion of our current run of Forbagorf and the Office Drones. If you've got an opinion or want to hear these shows in full, enlist in hashtag ButtThwompNation at patreon.com/debatethiscast. Until next time, I'm Kyle Harper.
I'm Matt. Get continued education in physical education. Call that a sports master. Cole.
I'm Todd. As a child, I would eat broccoli on the side of the road. They called me vegetarian, the ditch boy, Thomas.
And I'm Andrew. No one cared about me until I put on the helmet of fate, Henderson.
And we're saying thanks for debating with us, and if you think we're wrong, you can come fight us behind the swing sets, nerds.
All my love for vegetarian ditch boy. That was incredible.